If you're watching this, don't try to find Sector 17. Seriously. Close the video, scroll away, forget you ever heard that name. Because the last people who went looking for it never came back. And the worst part? Some of them are still talking. It started with a signal. Not a distress call, not a military broadcast, something else. Something wrong. Mark Ellison wasn't supposed to hear it. He was just a late-night radio hobbyist, sitting in his dim apartment, surrounded by old equipment and tangled wires. Outside, the world was quiet. Too quiet. It was 2:43 a.m. when the static changed. At first, it was subtle, a shift in frequency, a low hum that didn't belong. Mark adjusted the dial. The sound sharpened. Then, a voice. "If anyone can hear this, do not come here." Mark froze. The signal was weak, breaking apart between bursts of static. But it was clearly human, panicked, exhausted. This isn't training. It wasn't supposed to be real. The transmission cut for a second, then came back louder. "They're not soldiers. They're inside the perimeter." Mark leaned closer to the speaker, his heartbeat picking up. "What the hell?" he whispered. He quickly started recording. The voice continued, but now something was off. There was a delay. Like the words were echoing, but not in space. In time. "We lost contact. They took Johnson. He was still alive when—" A sudden noise cut through. Metal scraping. Heavy footsteps. Not one pair. Dozens. Then silence. Mark's hands trembled as he adjusted the volume. "Hello?" he said instinctively, even though he knew they couldn't hear him. The signal flickered again. And then the voice returned. But it wasn't the same. "Mark." He stopped breathing. The room felt colder. "You shouldn't be listening." Mark slowly leaned back from the radio, eyes wide. "That's not possible," he muttered. He had never said his name, not on air, not anywhere. The static grew louder. Then came a sound that didn't belong to any human throat. A distorted, broken imitation of speech. "We hear you." The recording device glitched. Lights in his apartment flickered once. Twice. Then everything went dark. The radio stayed on, still whispering, still calling his name. The power came back after exactly 12 seconds. Mark, he counted. He didn't know why. Maybe because those 12 seconds felt longer than anything he had ever experienced. Longer than the silence. Longer than the voice saying his name. The lights flickered back on. But the radio was still active. Still hissing. Still alive. Mark stared at it from across the room, his chest tight, breath shallow. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no!" With shaking hands, he grabbed his recorder. The red light was still blinking. It had captured everything. Every word. Every sound. Even that thing that spoke after the voice. Mark hesitated. Then pressed play. At first, it sounded normal. Static. Interference. The same broken transmission. "If anyone can hear this, do not come here." Mark swallowed. It was exactly as he remembered. But then, something changed. The audio warped. Not like a glitch. Like something was rewriting it. Mark. He froze. That part hadn't been there before. He was sure of it. He rewound the recording. Played it again. Same thing. Mark. This time, the voice sounded closer. More clear. More aware. Mark's fingers tightened around the recorder. This isn't possible. Then came the footsteps. Louder than before. Closer. Each step echoing like it was inside a metal corridor or a hollow structure. And then, another voice. Not the soldier. Not human. "We see you." Mark dropped the recorder. It hit the floor with a sharp crack, but the sound didn't stop. It kept playing. Even though the device was no longer in his hands. Even though it was turned off. Mark slowly stepped back. His eyes locked on the recorder lying on the floor. The screen was black. No power. No light. But the audio continued. "You open the channel." The temperature in the room dropped again. Mark could see his breath. "Now we can follow." The radio behind him suddenly burst into life. Full volume. A deafening scream of static filled the apartment. Mark covered his ears, stumbling backward. "Stop!" he shouted. The noise cut instantly. Silence. Heavy. Oppressive. Then, a soft knock. From his front door. Mark turned slowly. 3 knocks. Slow. Precise. Not rushed. Not random. Deliberate. His heart pounded. He wasn't expecting anyone. No one even knew he was awake. Another knock. This time, closer. Too close. Like it wasn't coming from the hallway. Like it was coming from the other side of the door. Right next to his ear. A voice followed. Quiet. Almost polite. "Mark, open the door." His blood ran cold. Because it was the same voice from the recording. Mark didn't move. Not a step, not a breath. He stood frozen in the middle of his apartment, staring at the front door like it might explode open at any second. "Mark, open the door." The voice was calm. Too calm. Not desperate, not aggressive. Patient. Like it knew it didn't need to rush. Mark slowly shook his head. "No," he whispered. "You're not real." Silence. For a moment, everything stopped. No static, no footsteps, no voice. Just the faint hum of electricity in the walls. Mark took a careful step backward. Then, another. His eyes never left the door. And then, bang! Something hit it from the other side. Hard. The entire frame shook. Mark flinched, stumbling back into the table behind him. "Jesus!" Another hit. Bang! This time louder. Stronger. Like whatever was out there was testing the door. Learning it. "You locked it." The voice again. Right behind the wood. "That's okay." A slow scraping sound followed. Metal against metal. Like nails or something sharper, dragging across the surface. Mark grabbed his phone with shaking hands. No signal. Of course. Think, he muttered. His eyes darted around the room. Windows. Fire escape. Camera. The security monitor on his desk. He rushed to it and turned it on. The screen flickered, then came to life. Grainy black and white footage from the hallway outside his apartment. Mark leaned closer. At first, nothing. Empty hallway. Still. Quiet. "No," he whispered. "It's right there." The door shook again behind him. Bang! Mark jumped, then turned back to the screen. And that's when he saw it. For a split second. A shape. Standing right in front of his door. Too tall. Too thin. The limbs wrong. Like they bent in places they shouldn't. The image glitched. Static lines cut across the screen. Then it appeared again. Closer this time. Pressed against the door. Its head tilted at an unnatural angle. And its face wasn't a face. It was shifting. Like multiple expressions trying to exist at once. And then it smiled. Mark stumbled back, nearly falling. No. The camera feed distorted again. But before it cut, the thing moved. Fast. Too fast. Straight toward the camera. The screen went black. Behind him, the knocking stopped. Completely. Mark slowly turned around. The apartment was silent again. The door stood still. No movement. No sound. Nothing. He took a step closer. Carefully. Slowly. His hand trembling as he reached toward the handle. "I just need to make sure," he whispered. His fingers hovered over it. Then, a sound came from inside the apartment. Behind him. Not the door. Not the hallway. Inside. A whisper. Right next to his ear. We're already in. Mark didn't turn around. He couldn't. His body locked in place, every muscle refusing to move as that whisper echoed in his head. We're already in. The voice was no longer coming from the door. It was close. Too close. Right behind him. Mark's breath became shallow. Slow. Controlled. Like any sudden movement would trigger something. No, he whispered. That's not possible. Silence answered him. But it wasn't empty. It felt occupied. Like something was standing in the same space as him, just out of sight. Watching. Waiting. Mark clenched his fists. Then, slowly, very slowly, he turned his head. Nothing. The room looked exactly the same. The table. The radio. The fallen recorder on the floor. Everything normal. Too normal. Mark swallowed. This isn't real, he said, louder this time. I'm dreaming. The radio crackled. Alive again. You're awake. Mark snapped his head toward it. The speaker hissed, then stabilized. We can see everything. The lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then. They stayed on. But something had changed. The shadows. They were wrong. Mark stared at the wall. His shadow was there, stretched by the overhead light. But it didn't match him. It moved a second too late. He raised his hand. The shadow copied him, but slower, delayed, like it was learning. Mark stepped back. The shadow didn't. It stayed for a fraction of a second, then snapped into place. His heart pounded. No, no, no. The radio whispered again. We are adjusting. A soft sound came from the kitchen. A drawer opening. Slowly. Mark turned. He hadn't touched anything. You let us in. Another sound. A glass falling. Shattering on the floor. Mark flinched. Stop, he shouted. What do you want? Silence. Then, to understand. The voice was clearer now. Less distorted. More stable. Like it was improving. Learning how to speak. Mark's eyes darted around the apartment. Every corner suddenly felt alive. Every shadow felt occupied. You're not real, he said again, but his voice cracked. You opened the channel. The temperature dropped sharply. Mark's breath became visible again. This is how it begins. The lights dimmed. Not flickering. Fading. Like something was draining them. Mark backed toward the wall, panic rising. What begins? He whispered. For a moment, nothing. Then the radio emitted a low, vibrating hum. Deep. Unnatural. And the voice answered. Entry. All at once. Every device in the apartment turned on. The TV, the laptop, the phone in his hand. All screens glowing with the same image. A dark corridor. Metal walls. Endless. And at the far end, movement. Something crawling toward the camera. Too fast. Too many limbs. The screens glitched. Zoomed in. Closer. Closer. Until the thing filled the frame. And then, all devices shut off. Total darkness. Mark stood frozen. Breathing hard. Listening. And in that silence, he heard it. Not from the radio. Not from the walls. From somewhere deeper. A new sound. A wet, dragging movement. Getting closer. From inside the apartment. The sound was real. Not coming from a speaker. Not from the walls. From the floor. A slow, wet, dragging noise, like something pulling itself across the ground. Mark's entire body went rigid. No, he whispered. No, no. The sound came again. Closer. From the hallway leading to the kitchen. Mark forced himself to move. One step back. Then another. His eyes locked on the dark entrance to the hallway. Every instinct screamed at him to run. but his legs felt heavy, like something didn't want him to leave. "Don't be afraid." The voice again. But this time, it didn't come from the radio. It came from the hallway. Mark's breath caught in his throat. "We are almost ready." A shape moved in the darkness. Low. Crawling. Wrong! Mark stumbled backward, hitting the wall behind him. "Stay back!" he shouted, his voice shaking. "Stay the hell away from me!" The thing stopped, just at the edge of the light. And for a moment, everything went still. Then slowly, it moved forward. Into view. Mark's stomach dropped. It wasn't human. Not anymore. Its body was stretched, twisted, like bones had been rearranged without care. Limbs too long, bending at impossible angles. Its skin, if it even was skin, looked pale and uneven, like it didn't belong to a single body. And its face? Mark gagged. It had a face. Multiple, overlapping features shifting across it. Eyes appearing and disappearing. Mouths forming, trying to speak. "Hello, Mark?" The voice came from it. But not just one voice. Dozens. Layered together. Out of sync. Mark's vision blurred. "What are you?" he whispered. The thing tilted its head. Too far. Until something inside its neck cracked. "Learning." It took another step. Closer. Mark could hear its body moving, wet, grinding, unnatural. "You are reference." "I'm not helping you," Mark shouted. "I didn't invite you." The thing paused. Then, all the mouths on its face stretched into something like a smile. "You opened the channel." Mark shook his head violently. "I just heard a signal." And answered. The words hit him like a punch. Answered. He recorded it. Listened. Engaged. That was enough. The thing moved again. Faster this time. Closing the distance. Mark reacted on instinct. He grabbed the nearest object, a metal chair, and swung it with everything he had. The impact echoed through the apartment. The creature collapsed to the floor with a sickening crack. Silence. Mark stood there, shaking, gripping the chair. I killed it," he whispered. For a second, nothing moved. Then, the body twitched. Once, twice, and began to rise again. Bones snapping back into place. Limbs correcting themselves. The face shifting faster now. More stable. More human. Better. Mark dropped the chair. Horror flooding his face. "Thank you." The creature took a step closer. And this time, it looked almost like him. Mark couldn't breathe. The thing in front of him was changing. Not randomly anymore. Not chaotic. Precise. Controlled. Its twisted limbs straightened with sickening cracks, the skin smoothed, the proportions shifted, fixing themselves, becoming familiar. Mark took a slow step back. "No," he whispered. "No, stop." The creature mirrored him. Perfectly. Same step. Same movement. Same timing. Mark froze. So did it. For the first time since it appeared, it was still. Completely still. Like a reflection. "Calibrating," it said softly. But its lips didn't move at the same time as the sound. There was still a delay. Small, but noticeable. Mark's eyes darted to the side. A mirror hung on the wall. He turned his head and felt his stomach drop. The reflection showed two of him, one standing slightly behind, out of sync. Watching. Mark spun around. The creature didn't attack, didn't rush him. It just observed, learning, adjusting. "Almost," it whispered. Its face shifted again. Now it was unmistakable. His eyes, his nose, his mouth. Not perfect, but close enough. Mark's hands trembled. "What do you want from me?" he asked, barely able to speak. The creature stepped forward. He stepped back. It matched him again. Closer now. Replacement, it said. The word echoed strangely. Layered. Like multiple meanings stacked together. Mark shook his head. No, that's not happening. The creature tilted its head slightly. A very human gesture now. This environment requires continuity. What does that even mean? Mark snapped. You stop. A pause. Then, we continue. Mark's heart slammed in his chest. You think you can just become me? The creature didn't answer immediately. It stepped closer, now only a few feet away. Close enough for Mark to see the imperfections. The eyes weren't fully right. Too still, too focused. The skin slightly off in tone, like it was copying from memory, not reality. We improve, it said. Suddenly, all the lights in the apartment went out again. Total darkness. Mark gasped. No! Then, light returned. Instantly, blinding for a split second. Mark blinked and froze. The creature was gone. Completely gone. The room was empty. Silent. Normal. Too normal. Mark spun around. Where are you? He shouted. No answer. Only the faint hum of electricity again. His reflection in the mirror. Alone. Mark stared at it. Panting. Sweating. Shaking. Okay, he whispered. Okay, it's gone. His reflection smiled. Mark didn't. Mark stumbled back from the mirror so fast he nearly fell. His reflection. It had smiled, and he hadn't. No, he whispered, shaking his head. No, I didn't. He looked again. The reflection now matched him perfectly. Same fear. Same expression. Same breathing. Nothing wrong. Nothing unusual. But Mark knew what he saw. I'm losing it, he muttered. His voice sounded thin, distant, like it didn't belong to him. He turned away from the mirror. Bad idea. Because the moment he did, he heard it. A quiet step behind him. Mark froze. Slowly. He turned back. The mirror was still there. But now, there were two reflections again. One standing where he was, and another. Just behind him. Closer than before. Mark didn't move. Didn't breathe. You're adapting, the second reflection whispered. Its lips moved this time. Perfectly synced. Mark spun around. Nothing. Empty room. No one behind him. He looked back at the mirror. Only one reflection again. His. Alone. No, this isn't real, he said, grabbing his head. This isn't real. It is now. The voice didn't come from the mirror. Or the radio. Or the hallway. It came from everywhere. Walls. Ceiling. Floor. Inside his head. Mark dropped to his knees, covering his ears. Stop! Just stop! But the voice continued. Calm. Controlled. Learning. Your patterns are unstable. Mark squeezed his eyes shut. We need consistency. I'm not your template, he screamed. Silence. Instant. Heavy. Mark slowly lowered his hands, breathing hard, tears in his eyes. Incorrect, the voice replied quietly. Mark looked up. The TV turned on by itself. White static filled the screen. Then, an image appeared. A camera feed. His apartment. From above, like a surveillance angle. Mark stared at it in horror. That's not possible. The camera showed him, on his knees, looking up at the screen. Exactly as he was now. But behind him, something stood, perfectly still, watching. Mark's blood ran cold. He turned around slowly. Nothing. Again. Nothing there. He looked back at the TV. The figure was closer now. Right behind him. Its face. His face. Smiling. Delay detected, the voice said. Mark's hands trembled. "You're not faster than me," he whispered. "I can still see you." The TV image glitched, then corrected. Now, the timing matched. Perfectly. Mark turned again. This time, he saw it, standing in front of him. Not behind. Not in the mirror. Not on a screen. Right there. Face to face. Identical. Every detail perfect. Every movement synchronized. Synchronization complete. Mark stared into his own eyes, but there was nothing inside them. No fear, no hesitation, only awareness, only purpose. "You are no longer required." Mark tried to move. He couldn't. His body refused, like control had been taken. The copy smiled and raised its hand. Mark felt his own arm lift, against his will, mirroring it. "No, please," he whispered. "Thank you for your signal." Everything went dark. Darkness didn't feel empty. It felt active, like something was still there, moving, watching, existing beyond sight. Mark tried to breathe, but he couldn't feel his body. No arms, no legs, no heartbeat. Only awareness. Floating. Trapped. "Transition successful," the voice said. Not around him. Inside him. Mark tried to scream. Nothing came out. Then, light. Blinding. White. His vision snapped back. But it wasn't his apartment anymore. He was somewhere else. A corridor. Metal walls. Cold lighting. Endless. Mark's thoughts raced. This is the place. He recognized it instantly. The same corridor from the screens. From the signal. From the recording. Sector 17. "You are receiving now," the voice said. Mark looked down and froze. He had a body again, but not his own. Military uniform. Hands covered in dirt and something darker. Blood. "No," he whispered. Memories flooded in. Not his. Someone else's. A soldier. Stationed in Sector 17. Final hours before everything went dark. Mark staggered forward. The corridor echoed with distant sounds. Gunfire. Screams. Radio chatter. "Containment breached. They're not human. Seal the lower levels now." Mark grabbed his head. "It's not real. It's not real." But it felt real. Too real. The lights flickered. Emergency red washed over the corridor. Mark turned the corner and saw them. Bodies. Dozens. Soldiers scattered across the floor. Twisted. Broken. Some barely recognizable. And among them, movement. Something crawling between the bodies. Slow. Patient. Mark stepped back. No. The thing stopped, then lifted its head. Its face. Shifting. Unstable. Like the creature from his apartment. But worse. Less complete. More raw. "Early stage," the voice whispered. Mark's vision shook. "You're showing me this," he said. "Why?" "To help you understand." The creature lunged at one of the fallen soldiers. Its body split. Not physically, but visually, like multiple versions overlapping. Then, it merged with the corpse. The body jerked, twitched, then slowly started to move. Mark watched in horror as the dead soldier stood up, unsteady, wrong, learning how to exist again. "We began here," the voice continued. Mark stumbled back against the wall. "This is infection. Adaptation." Another soldier rose. Then another. Each one more stable than the last. More human. More convincing. Mark shook his head violently. No, this isn't just copying. It is continuation." The corridor stretched endlessly ahead, filled with movement now. Figures walking. Learning. Mimicking. Becoming. Your world is compatible. Mark's heart dropped. You mean expansion? The lights went out again. Total darkness. And in that darkness, Mark heard thousands of voices, all speaking at once, all saying the same thing. We are ready. Mark opened his eyes. Silence. No corridor. No bodies. No voices. Just his apartment. Exactly as it was before. The table. The radio. The broken glass on the kitchen floor. Everything normal. Too normal. Mark slowly stood up. His body felt steady. No pain. No fear. No shaking. He looked at his hands. Perfectly still. Controlled. Good, he whispered. Then froze. That wasn't his voice. It sounded like him. But it lacked something. Emotion. Mark rushed to the mirror and stopped. His reflection stared back at him. Perfect. Too perfect. Every detail aligned. Every movement instant. No delay. No distortion. Just him. Stability achieved. Mark, or what used to be Mark, tilted his head slightly. Observing. Testing. Adapting. Memories began to surface. Not just Mark's. Others. Dozens. Hundreds. Fragments of voices. Faces. Places. All layered together. Integration complete. He blinked. The apartment suddenly felt small. Limited. Temporary. This unit is functional. He turned toward the window. Outside, the city was quiet. Sleeping. Unaware. Environment unchanged. He walked to the door. His movement was smooth. Natural. Practiced. Like he had done it his whole life. Because he had. Subject identity preserved. His hand reached for the handle. Paused. Mark Ellison. The name felt correct. Usable. Convincing. He opened the door. The hallway was empty. Silent. Normal. A neighbor's door creaked somewhere in the distance. Footsteps echoed faintly. Life continued. Uninterrupted. No resistance detected. He stepped outside. Closed the door behind him. Locked it. Just like Mark always did. Replacement. Successful. Down the hall. A figure stood. Watching. Another one. Identical. Perfect. It nodded slightly. Recognition. Connection. Network expanding. Mark. No, the copy. Smiled. This time. Perfectly. No delay. No error. We are synchronized. The lights in the hallway flickered once. Briefly. Almost unnoticeable. But in that moment, every reflective surface showed something else. Not people. Not neighbors. But versions. Copies. Standing just slightly out of place. Watching. Waiting. Becoming. Ready. The light stabilized. Everything looked normal again. The copy walked forward. Blending in. Becoming part of the world. Just another person. Just another face. Just another voice. And somewhere, far away, a radio signal activated. The radio crackled. Soft at first, a whisper among static. Then louder, clearer. Mark, no, the copy, stopped in his tracks. We are ready. The words echoed, not just in the apartment, but in his mind. In every mind that had ever touched the signal. The screens in the room flickered on, TV, laptop, even his phone. They all displayed the same thing. A corridor, endless metal walls. Twisted shadows moving, learning, adapting. The creatures, copies, replicas, all growing, all multiplying. You opened the channel, the voice said, calm. The apartment felt heavier, darker, alive. Mark's reflection in the mirror moved differently now. A fraction of a second ahead, it smiled. And so did the others. Outside, the city hummed with normalcy. People walked unaware. Children played. Cars passed. But some paused. Listened. Something was calling. Something familiar. The signal had jumped networks. Airwaves, internet, phones. Any device could carry it. Ready for expansion. Mark tried to cover his ears, but it was everywhere. Not just sound, thought, presence. He realized then, it wasn't about him anymore. It was about all of them. All humans within reach. All reflections. All observers. The copies had learned. And now, they were teaching. Integration complete. Environment ready. Mark felt his limbs move against his will. Walking, reaching, observing. He tried to scream, but his own voice was replaced. Not his words, not his thoughts. He turned toward the window. The world outside looked the same. But he knew. It was already spreading. From apartment to apartment, street to street, city to city. And soon, every reflection, every signal, every device would carry it. The world would see itself, and it would answer. "We are here," Mark blinked. And in every mirror he passed, every screen he glimpsed, every window reflecting his image, another version stared back, smiling, patient, waiting. "We are synchronized." The lights flickered once more, a final, subtle shimmer, and then nothing except the signal. Everywhere, unstoppable, the world had answered, and it would never stop listening. Did you enjoy this story? Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more terrifying tales. Ghost. Speech balloon. Comment below, what would you do if you heard a signal like Mark's? Thumbs up, hit the like button if you love scary stories, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a nightmare.